All right, and we are live. About 20 minutes before Thursday Night Football comes on. But this is Sports Business Insider, and I am Denzel Snipes, and alongside the sports agent himself, former MLB and NFL agent Sean Russey, and we are coming to you live on the Sideline Sports Network. Before we get started, check us out on all of our social media channels. That's Sideline Sport One, also SidelineSport.net is our website, cranking out mad articles, profiles, episodes, you name it is on there. Hit the like and subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Shout out to Network. Also follow us on X, TikTok. We're on TikTok as well as Facebook, of course. So we're gonna go ahead and get started here. We actually had two topics, not a long show at all, but we actually had two topics as you see in the headline. This past Saturday's Paul versus Tyson fight, and then also we want to touch on the WWE to Netflix deal happening in January. So, getting started with the Paul versus Tyson fight that happened. If you want to get into some of the business aspects about it, Sean. And so this one right here had a bit of a huge purse for both fighters.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of that was ended up being paid by Netflix. The official amount that came from Netflix is going undisclosed, which is fine. Netflix can keep that, in the dark because obviously they're going to probably have more fights and they're not going to want to have one guy be like, well, you gave Tyson this and he's 58. But the Tyson name really is what they paid for, right? I don't think too many people expected Mike to really knock out Jake Paul. I think a lot of people were hoping that he would knock out Jake Paul, but I think deep down, once everybody saw round one, that hope kind of faded away really quick. So name value, I think, held a lot for Tyson. Tyson walked away with 20 million. Paul walked away with 40. Well, I guess technically Tyson walked away for 25 and Paul walked away for 35 because they had a little side bet of $5 million that Tyson wouldn't make it past round four.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but for their earnings from Netflix and the gate was 40 and 20. The gate itself was $18 million. So you figure Netflix probably, if you do the math, Netflix was on the hook for about 42 million of what the fighters earned potentially. Yeah. It is the highest gate, not only in Texas boxing history, but it's the highest gate in any event outside of Las Vegas. In the last couple of years, I believe 5 years. It's the ninth highest overall, and that includes MMA and boxing,
Wow.
just combat sports. It is also the most bet on fight in combat sports history. The numbers are yet to come out in terms of what was given out for winnings and what the casino, the MGM actually collected, but it was the most bet on fight in combat sports history.
So, so with Paul getting 40 mil and Tyson earning 20 mil, now is that in total as far as like the all the shares and and after all the numbers are in, or are they still going to earn more as they count up the numbers?
Now, I wonder what Netflix is going to do when people just replay the fight on Netflix, right? I wonder if there's a royalty there. Also, I figured there's also sponsorship dollars that are not in those numbers yet. But so I don't think those numbers probably won't go up too much higher based on what we've seen. This is right in Tyson's actually career earning average. He's in about 10 to 30 million per fight outside of Lennox Lewis fight, which was an outlier for his career in terms of total earnings.
That one he got about what, 50?
101.
101. Yeah, that's it.
It was a real outlier for Tyson, and that was just because it was really a generational fight, and you don't get those obviously too often. So you had Tyson, maybe Foreman back in the day, or Tyson Holyfield, excuse me. And then you had Tyson and Lewis. You really just didn't get those generational fights. So, and
True.
Also back then you didn't have the TV deals. I can't imagine what his 101 would have been with a TV deal back then. It probably been 120, 130.
Yeah.
But so for this, I think what you're going to see is it will go up a little bit because I think there's got to be some royalties built in because we could both sit here right now and flick on the fight on Netflix and watch the replay. So I'm assuming there's some royalties built in, just like the WWE network has, legend deals and royalties built in for, content that is on their network.
Right.
I'm assuming Netflix has built that in some fashion, and especially knowing both fighters' business sense, I'm guessing they understood that going in, like, hey, this fight is going to be viewed more than once, and it's not going to just be viewed on YouTube. Netflix is going to show this thing until they take it
Yep.
down,
So take it
and then
down.
they can put it back up before their next event, and then it's going to be viewed some more. So I'm assuming that's going to be worked in. So those numbers will go up over time. It'll be interesting to see maybe 10 years from now what they've collected on the fight.
No, absolutely. There's an now if they repeatedly play it on YouTube, are there royalties involved in that or not?
Yeah, so I think what they, just like WWE, sometimes what Netflix does is they really do their best job to monitor YouTube and make sure that the non-copyrighted things that they did not approve get taken down almost immediately.
Right.
I know there's a lot of people that get workarounds on there and somehow still get some seconds of live clips, but both of those companies, and I think now that they're going to be working together, obviously, you'll have some of those heads that of security, cybersecurity, working together. I think you'll see even less of those videos leaking to YouTube now. Um,
Hmm.
and like I said, WWE does a quick job about getting stuff down that they did not, intend to put up, especially when there's like a tape show and all of a sudden something gets put up there, and they're really pretty good about getting it taken down. And I think Netflix will do the same with anything that, maybe goes over that 15-30 second mark from the Tyson fight.
Yeah, and you know what? That's actually a great segue because speaking of Netflix, WWE heading over to Netflix January of 2025.
So
We
go
go ahead.
ahead. I was going to say more of this momentum of live streaming that Netflix is doing. Go ahead.
Yeah, this actually was a bit of a test. Paul Tyson was a bit of a test for WWE Raw and SmackDown coming to Netflix. I know there was some streaming issues and everything like that. People were kind of struggling watching the fight, but this indeed was. This is also going to show Netflix what they need to do as far as because more and more people they're going to tune into um,
Hmm.
WWE and such. But yeah, take it away on
And
Netflix and
they'll have,
WWE.
they're going to have another shot, with these Christmas games. So we'll see if they fixed it at least majority of the way for these Christmas games. And then, they'll have about 2 weeks to really straighten it out for Raw. So they got one more shot really. And they've had obviously events, the comedy events, but it didn't draw the people in that were viewing this event. I don't think they were ever prepared for the amount of people that ended up viewing the Tyson Paul fight. But like you said, it was a good test for them because this is what they're about to see, right? Every Monday, Tuesday, possibly Wednesday, Friday, with the overseas part of this deal, which we'll get into shortly. But so exclusively going forward for the next 10 years, Netflix will be the exclusive home of Monday Night Raw. It will debut January 6th. The debut is getting stacked talent wise, so I expect the debut is going to do massive numbers. So like you said, hopefully the Paul Tyson fight was a good learning lesson for what they're about to see. Um, the the WWE views the deal as obviously an opportunity to increase its popularity even further. And the little caveat here, which is interesting, the global rights, not only is Netflix is going to gain, a lot of WWE content, and the thought is total global rights over Raw over the course of this deal, but they've also included overseas territories that will get Raw, SmackDown, Netflix, and the Big Four pay-per-views. Excuse
Wow.
me, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and the Big Four will be on Netflix for overseas territories.
Ooh.
Um, that is a huge shift, and makes one wonder how close is Netflix to maybe just acquiring everything and putting it
Yes.
on.
Why not?
Be interesting to see when the Fox deal comes up if Netflix puts in a bid like they did for Raw, and if they're willing to do 500 million a year for SmackDown. But to continue on, so this is a 10-year deal on paper, but the
Hmm.
Netflix does have an option to cancel the deal after only 5 years. They also have an option to extend the deal after 5 years to add an additional 10 years. So that
Nice.
means this deal is essentially a 5, 10, or 20 years deals, and it's completely up to Netflix. WWE has no control based on how the contract was written. The option is completely on Netflix.
Hmm. Okay then. And you know what? That actually, if all goes well, you know what? Like you said, I wonder if they will just go ahead and just acquire everything altogether. Of course, that means removing everything from Peacock.
Yeah, it would get real interesting because of what the WWE has done with their content, right? They've gone from their own network, they sold that to Peacock. Peacock now has the content and the live pay-per-views, but now the big four is going to be split. So I don't think Peacock now is going to have the overseas rights to the big four. So they're already losing some of their rights, is my assumption, to Netflix. Uh, and what I've also seen, and I'm sure you've noticed as well, Peacock and Hulu no longer upload the Raw and SmackDown 24 hours after, unless you have their premium packages. So I think
Mm.
that could now play a role in how WWE maybe shifts to Netflix and just goes, hey, add $2 or $3 to your subscriber price. Give us, 30 cents on the dollar of every subscriber you get from us moving over here. And we'll expire our Peacock deal, we'll expire our Fox deal, and here you go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, with that being said, that is all we have for today's show. Tune in to more of our content week after week. We'll be back with another hot topic for you next week. Um, if you can, go back and rewatch the the Tyson Paul fight in full without the glitches and the and everything like that. Even though me personally, I think that the Serrano fight, that one was that one and the one before it was the best
The
fight
the
to me.
women's fight stole the show
Yeah,
100%. And then when they got in the ring, the first two rounds, honestly, Tyson looked like he was trying to make an attempt, but I think it gassed him. And then the next 6 rounds were just kind of what we saw with the first Mayweather celebrity fight. It just felt like they were dancing circles.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but yeah, of course, feel free to go back and rewatch it. And we'll be back next week with more Sports Business Insider. I'm Denzel Snipes. This is Sean Russi, and we will see you all next week.